are those reasonably anticipated by the chair which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items listed on the agenda may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. The meeting today is being recorded by the Peabody School Committee's recording secretary, Leanna Harris, and we're also being broadcast live on PAT. And we have a full committee here today, as well as our superintendent, Dr. Levine, our assistant superintendent, soon-to-be superintendent, Kara Murtag, our business manager, Jared Stanton, and our human resources director, Steve Farrell. Why don't we open things up, if we could, with a moment of silence. If everybody could please rise. Thank you, and if we could do the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Buckley, if you would introduce the kids.
Sure. We have our student advisory council here with us tonight. Half of the members, we have some members that are working and tutoring. Ian Manning is our senior. Johnny Mace is a sophomore, along with Rebecca Trump.
Welcome. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, Ian, Rebecca, and Johnny, why don't you guys come up, take the seats here, microphones.
So recent events, we started off the school year with the parent night, which were the beginning of the year parent-teacher conferences. For the seniors who ran for Student Government Day, the elections have gone through and everyone has gotten elected to a certain position who wanted to sign up. We had a recent open house, it was called the YPB High Night, which had basically a lot of 8th graders and even some younger students come on November 30th to look around the school and decide really why they should attend PV High and why it's such a great school to go to. There was 30 plus teachers attending and many student volunteers. We had the annual pep rally go off before the Thanksgiving break. A couple weeks ago, Salem State came and did on-the-spot admissions for seniors, and over 60 students were accepted. Our school has gone through with the Endicott survey, which was given to 9th and 10th graders and will soon go out to 11th and 12th graders. And parent surveys are also in the process for that. We've had a recent change in the school website with a platform change, which is a little bit. We had the annual Veterans Breakfast, which was attended by the mayor, a state representative, and members of the city council and school committee. And it was really a school-wide success with members of ROTC, Culinary Arts, and Chorale also being involved with that.
I'm Rebecca Trump. I'm going to be talking about school events more outside of the school day. A few weeks ago, was the athletics. It signifies the start of the winter season. So the winter season of sports has started recently. We also had homecoming, which is a senior event. It was pretty successful. We talked about it last time. There were over 100 people in attendance, so I think we'll continue doing that in the future. A new-ish club has started. The Observer is a literary magazine in the PBD High. We're collecting literary art and visual arts from students and displaying them in a magazine that will be published in springtime, I believe. We're in the process of collecting pieces of art right now. The PBD Youth Advisory Council has started their winter clothing drive, and they'll be collecting gloves and hats and scarves from elementary schools. Stage 1 Drama Fest auditions have happened, and I believe their rehearsals have started as well, and that's always a success. The 8th grade collab concert happened last Thursday, I believe, with high schoolers collaborating with 8th grade from the Higgins Middle School, and I think that's it for that outside events.
I'm John Edward Moise, and I will be telling you guys about the fundraisers. A few of our clubs have done fundraisers for the Relief Fund in Puerto Rico, International Club, and Student Council. An International Club also is raising money to get African drummers to the school to bring more culture to PVMHS. The band has had a fundraiser last night at Fuddruckers to raise money for the band trip in the spring to Pennsylvania. The sophomore class has raised money for their class with a fudge fundraiser. The junior class has raised money for Yankee Candles and a Chipotle fundraiser. And this Friday, the senior class will have a Fuddruckers fundraiser after their fundraiser at Wendy's. And also, Student Council has also made a Haven for Hunger fundraiser, a can drive, and it was a school-wide effort, and it was very successful. And the math team is having a fundraiser Wednesday night. It's a pizza fundraiser at 6:30 in the PVMHS Cafe. And there's a school-wide teddy bear drive in honor of Ella O'Donnell. And that's it for fundraiser.
Well, John, Rebecca, and Ann, thank you so much for being here. These reports, as I say often to you, that are very important to us to hear what's taking place and to get your perspective on things and just to hear the different events and everything. So thank you very much for being here, as always. I did want to open up any questions for any of the students. Great. All right, well, thank you so much.
Thank
See you
you.
again soon. See you very soon. Yep. Okay, so we'll go to approval of minutes. We do have one regular school committee meeting minutes for November 28th, 2017.
Motion to approve regular school committee meeting minutes of November 28, 2017 with corrections. I had spoken to Marge earlier today. There were just some typos.
Okay. Seconded by Mr. Rossignol. Heard the motion by Mr. Hockman for approval, seconded by Mr. Rossignol. Can I have a roll call vote on that, please?
Yes.
Yeah.
Great.
Yes.
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 Great, thank you. Next is approval of bills. Mrs. Carpenter?
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve warrant A, number 3660, in the amount of $69,855.71. That is dated December 12th, 2017, subject to audit.
Great, you've heard the motion by Mrs. Carpenter for approval of warrant A, number 3660,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Rossignol. Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. I'd like to make a motion to approve warrant B, dated December 12th, 2017, number 3664, in the amount of $512,118.07, subject to audit.
Second.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Carpenter. You've heard her motion for approval of warrant B, number 3664, seconded by Mr. Rossignol. Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Thank you. We'll go to continued business. Mrs. Dunn, anything to report on the MSBA Higgins project?
Believe it or not, no.
Okay.
We should have the monthly meeting in December, but it's pending, we haven't decided.
Thank you.
Mr.
School
Mayor.
days. Mr. Amico? Oh, on the Higgins? Mr. Amico.
Please, thank you. Through the chair to Ms. Dunn. Ms. Dunn, just a couple of items. They both, in regards to the Higgins at the gymnasium, the light switch by the entrance coming in from the street side, it's still, if someone leans back on it, can turn the lights off, and we had that situation happen this past weekend. And I think we were talking about putting a cradle or a box there.
Yes.
If we can maybe look into that, I'd really appreciate that. The other thing came up Sunday morning as I was at the scorer's table keeping score for my daughter's basketball game. The sun that comes into those windows, and I think we've talked about and possibly have put it off for a little bit, but the sun that comes in through those windows is just so bright. And all kidding aside, it could be a safety issue, for kids running up and down that court. And I don't know if we can look at shades, but if shades are too expensive, maybe a tinting on those windows. The experts would know more than me, but I think there's something needs to be done with those windows above the, what would be the bleachers on the east side, I believe,
Yep.
of the gymnasium.
I'll be honest with you, that bank of windows was supposed to have a coating, and I actually thought it had been installed, so if it hasn't been installed, then it has been in the works to get that done. But I'll call and check on that, because it is a safety hazard, and it really has to be taken care of. So they've known about it for a while, and that, I think, when they looked into all the different options, that the tinting was going to be the best.
The best one.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Dunn.
And that light switch, I'm sorry about that. That should have been taken care of a long time ago. So it's probably on the list. They did get the list down to about, on the punch list, I think at our last meeting, they were down to about 1,400 items. That included the back punch, so that things had been submitted and were being repaired, and then they'll have a final go-through. So I'll find out about that light switch, because anything in the gym was supposed to have a cage put over it.
Great. Thank you.
And just to support Mr. Amico on that, because we were together, and I remember this came up last year, because our games for our kids are early Saturday morning, and the lights, the sunlight is definitely a factor, and definitely poses a safety issue. I thought that, I remember we discussed it, and I thought that it had been looked into as well. I've always been in favor of the tinting in some way rather than putting blinds or shades over it, but yeah, that's something we really got to move forward on pretty
Right.
quickly.
And it's this time of year, it's funny.
Yeah, it's just this time of the year.
This is like Stonehenge. The sun's gonna hit it at the right point, and everybody's gonna wear sunglasses in the morning. But I'll find out what happened. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dunn.
The next item is shortened school days. Not sure.
Sure.
What the, what is that?
Don't get excited, anyone.
Is that a joke? Someone put a joke?
Actually, it's kind of new business for Mr. Luca.
I think that might be,
Is that Marge having a joke? of having,
No,
like-
no, no.
That was
I know
The
it-
lunch issue. It's the lunch
It's
issue.
in the backside, too.
It's under new business.
New business.
Lunches, breakfast served during the early release. There are 2 days during the year.
Yeah.
Dr. Levine was going to look into
all
this.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, we should.
that's what you said last time, too.
We should leave the-
We'll hold this to the next
No,
meeting.
we should, and we will. We're gonna- We have to do some looking in the contract and see whether or not we have to pay these people, but we're gonna feed these kids on the days that they don't get fed, on the shortened school days. That's what it is, shortened school days. Parentheses, food.
Eating.
There you go.
Thank you.
Okay.
Eating on shortened
Public
days.
participation, is there anyone in the audience that would like to come forward and speak? The microphone is open. Now we'll go to superintendent's report. Dr. Levine?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I invite Ken McHugh to join us. Ken?
Yes.
Welcome, Mr. McHugh. You can jump right into it whenever you're ready.
So I was invited here tonight, is this working?
Yep.
Okay, I
Yeah.
can't hear myself, okay. To give you an overview, we're working on a civics course at the high school. So I have a team that's made up of 5 social studies teachers, myself, Abby Gore, Jeff Barrett, Chris Carlson, and Dawn Mason. We've spent some time kind of exploring and looking for, creating this course and kind of thinking to go big on this. And so far, just to give you an update where we are, the state's recently released a draft of a new curriculum, and it has civics in 8th grade. And we don't want civics to just end when the students are done with 8th grade. We want to keep that going. And it's incorporated into U.S. History 1, U.S. History 2, World History. And we're looking to make a course that's at the end that will be the culmination of that, and that really has an experiential learning piece with a capstone on that. And that's kind of the big thing we're working on. So we've been in touch with several people, organizations, politicians, and to try to come up with some things to put this all together. So where we are right now, we're thinking of looking at having incorporate in the class many things, have a series of guest speakers. We were thinking everything from elected officials to the somebody even from the Office of Campaign and Finance, so we're meeting all parts of government and we're looking at to go local level, state, and national on this. And one of the big things we were working on too is at the end is to have a experiential learning piece. The big one was to do a trip to Washington D.C. as the capstone for that. Along the way too, we were thinking of kind of maybe doing approximately a 10 day trips, things like go to City Hall, State House, go to the legislative breakfast the Peabody Chamber of Commerce puts on, all kinds of things to give them all a sense of where the civic life is going. It's ongoing everywhere all around us. And there's many other places, State House, Kennedy Institute for the Senate that's newly opened, and so on. The capstone is we found an organization, it's a nonprofit, nonpartisan, called Close Up Foundation. They've been around since 1971, and they do put the trips together to Washington D.C., which is, the tour is part of it to go see the institutions and the monuments and so on, but there's other pieces of it. They do a mock congress, they meet with, and it's students from all around the country too, and they'll meet with their legislative delegation and the staff. And I think a good thing that comes out of that too is I think a lot of times we all kind of live in our own echo chambers, and this would be a nice opportunity for the students from Peabody to meet other students around the country and get all multiple points of view. And so this is pretty much where we are right now. And one of the last pieces we were working with was Close Up Foundation has some curriculum. They do professional development as well. And they're really focused on that, the nonpartisan aspect, and then how do we get to have civil conversations and honest debate. And that's one thing that we'd like to really make a main part of the course as well.
Great. Thank you, Mr. McHugh. Open up for questions. Mr. Hockman?
Thank you, Mr. McHugh. I had an opportunity to talk to you before tonight's presentation that this subject came up at the Veterans Day breakfast at the high school on November 9th. I had a gentleman who sat down at a table, Mr. Gary Locke, who brought up, why don't we teach civics? I picked up the phone the following day and spoke to Dr. Levine, and he said, we're working on that, and you were going to present to us, so I'm happy that you are, and I'm happy that you're so far along in this. There are local veterans also who would absolutely be interested in coming to visit the high school to talk about their experience, both from serving in the military and post-military years and the service that they provide to veterans who come home and work that they do in our community as well. On another note, two other notes. One, we also have SJC justices who are from Peabody. And it would be great if kids could meet any judge or justice, but particularly in the highest court. SJC is Supreme Judicial Court. It's the highest court in the Commonwealth. And I think that there are currently two justices, two of the justices who are from Peabody, born in Peabody, raised in Peabody. One of them still, does Amy still live here? No, neither lives here. Okay. And on the third point, I, as a high school student, participated in the Close Up Foundation. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. I don't remember if I was a junior or a senior. We took a civics class, and it culminated in a close-up trip to Washington, D.C., and it was an incredibly enlightening experience, not only getting an inside look at how the federal government operates, but you really do get behind curtains and closed doors and all of those things. But like you said, when I was there, I was with a group of students from Brooklyn, my region, from New Hampshire, which back then to me was the end of the world, and Oklahoma. And I still talk to people, I still remain friends with people I met on that trip, and we spent a couple of days together in Washington, D.C., and this was before email and internet and stuff like that. We wrote letters to each other, and we'd stay in touch through college and graduate school and things like that, and I still, now it's easier with the internet and electronic mail. But it's an absolutely wonderful experience. I see that you have some, or are going to have some budget considerations for this program. I think it's worthwhile to get it in the budget process, and it's a great curriculum, so thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hockman. Mr. Rosignol?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to applaud you and your colleagues reading through this proposal. I think it's fantastic. I really do. I think it shows our students what government is made up of and how it's just important to get involved and to see what our civic leaders are doing. So I just wanted to just take a moment and just applaud you for your effort, because I think this proposal is fantastic, so thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rossignol. Mrs. Carpenter?
Thank you. Thank you for that information, Mr. McHugh. I am delighted that this class is going to happen. It can't happen soon enough. The team that you have there sounds outstanding. I will say that in high school, I took this class, and my teacher was the late and great Bob Driscoll. And he opened our eyes to many things, and I think sometimes he would walk around and say that he's the reason why I was on the school committee. But and I'd let him have that. It was a wonderful class. I'm looking forward to it. I am excited. I'm hopeful that some of my children that are moving forward to the high school will be able to take it, and it sounds like you have a great thing coming. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Carpenter. Mrs. Dunn?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. McHugh, this is excellent, and I'm thrilled to see that we will officially have a civics course, because among members of the public, it is honestly one of the most popular questions from the voters. They continuously ask, what do you do for civics? How do you teach the kids civics? And now more than ever, people realize how important it really is to just be able to have educated citizens know about their government and how to work with it. So I'm thrilled to see this. Also, Judge Lowy is waiting for a call. Every time I see him, he says he would love to come back and speak at the high school. And actually, our governor's counselor, Eileen Duff, has also offered to help to facilitate that and to bring Justice Budd as well, because they're graduates of Peabody High, and you know, once you've gone there, you do want to give back. So being able to have members of the community come in and assist with this is really going to be great for the students, because they'll hear from people who are involved and learn so much. This is wonderful, and I'm thrilled. I did have one question. Will it be ready for next year's school year?
I'm hoping it will be.
Oh, good.
So we're working hard on this. We get a lot more details to come. So.
Very good.
And I'd like to add to for all the suggestions. If anybody wants to have any other ideas, send them along. Just email them to me at the school, and we can incorporate all these other ideas.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Dunn. Mr. Miko?
Through the chair to Mr. McHugh, this is fantastic. Easily, this will be one of the students' favorite courses. It's unlike any other. You can learn through a book, you can learn through a computer, but this is hands-on, and they'll love it, and I know you'll love it as well. If you would you come back and just give us an update on where you are during the year, just in case for budget implications,
Right,
we can
absolutely.
move forward on our end as well. We'd appreciate that. Okay. Great job.
Thank you, Mr. Miko. Okay, thank you. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And Mr. Mayor, I know you love my anecdotes. I have two for you. I also participated in the Close-Up Foundation when I went to South Boston High School in 1977. I was there in '76. We decided to take a risk and take our kids from Southie on a field trip. And the Close-Up Foundation was what we chose. And they welcomed us with open arms. And I do want you to know that I came back with almost as many kids as I went with. The second anecdote that I have for you is babysat me when I was a child. She is a Burnham from Revere, lives right around the corner from me, and Barbara was my babysitter when I was a little kid.
Which is interesting, because she's much younger than you.
Yeah.
I find that very interesting.
Not like mother, I'm sorry.
So you're doing the math.
Yeah, he was like, he's a young guy. I'm like, interesting.
Judge Chloe's mother.
Yeah, 'cause you took the kids to the close-up convention when Judge Lowy was in high school.
You're right.
You did.
All right, Dr. Levine, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you. Every year we receive a donation of $1,000 from Cummings Property on behalf of Michael Bolletero, and in his name for our boys soccer program. I would like you to accept this with thanks.
Motion to accept with gratitude and send the acknowledgement of same.
Motion made by Mr. Hockman, seconded by Mrs. Dunn. All in favor?
And
Oh,
I know you send out a thank you note, but can you, that is so nice. That gentleman has been doing this for years. Really, it's
Yep.
very, very nice.
We received a donation of a Keurig at the Carroll School Teachers Dining Hall. This donation was made by Lily David, Deb Halligan, and Gregory David. I would like you to accept this with our thanks.
Motion to accept with gratitude and send acknowledgement of same.
Second.
motion made by Mr. Hockman for approval, seconded by Mr. Rossignol. All in favor? It's a vote.
The North Shore Education Consortium and its board of directors, of which I am one, voted to accept Ipswich as a member town. But officially, after we do that, school committees have to do that. We need a 2/3 vote of school committees, member school committees. I am asking you to approve our vote that Ipswich be allowed into the consortium as a member of the consortium.
Motion to follow recommendation from the superintendent.
Second.
Heard the motion by Mrs. Carpenter, seconded by Mrs. Dunn. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Rossignol?
No.
Mr. Olympio?
Yes.
Mr. Amico?
Yes.
Mrs. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Essex Tech has written a letter of support for our Chapter 4 programming and web development. You have that in your packet. In your packet is Boston Globe article on student activity accounts. I'm very happy to say that Mr. Stanton informs me that we do ours the way that they're supposed to be done, and he won't be going to jail. There's also an article on school start times that was in the Boston Globe. As you know, Boston has chosen to redo their start times. And there's a letter from the Brown School Environmental Eagles Club. Mrs. Metropolis asked that they be allowed to paint the drains. I sent Tim Healy, I asked Tim Healy to go and take a look. He has approved the project. This is simply to inform you of the project unless you feel otherwise. And with that, Mr. Mayor, I am done with my report.
Great, thank you very much, Dr. Levine.
Mr. Mayor.
Sorry, Mr. Hockman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Dr. Levine. Backing up to the school start time and the vote that was taken by the Boston School Committee, Public School Committee. Can we, I know that you had provided some literature in the subcommittee on this subject, and I think that there was a presenter who you were trying to see when she was available. Can you try to get her on one of our January meetings so that we can?
Through the chair. Yeah, she has committed to our second meeting in January. She will be here to present. Her name is Dr. Judith Owens. She actually lives in Beverly. She is on staff at Mass General Hospital, and she is an expert in the research about the benefits of starting school later for high school students particularly. She will speak to us on the, I think it's the 26th of January. I'm not sure.
Thank you.
Second meeting in January.
Great. Mr. Rossignol?
Through the chair on that topic, could you send out a Connect Ed message to parents, letting them know that that speaker will be here discussing it? Not that there is going to be any change anytime soon, because it's just still in the infantile stage. But one of the things that's happening now, at least in Boston, is the parents are like, well, we weren't informed, we didn't know what was going on, you're making these changes without our input, and it's upsetting some parents as far as not knowing. I think the earlier we get parent involvement and knowledge on board with this, I think the better, just to spur on discussion of any topics that might arise moving forward.
Thank you. Through the chair, I would do that with the vote of the school committee. I don't want to send out a Connect Ed without the vote of the school committee.
So I'd make that in a form of a motion.
Second.
Okay. We've heard the motion by Mr. Rossignol, seconded by Mr. Hockman on the motion.
Yeah, no, great point, Mr. Rossignol. Through the chair to you, this is in no way indicative that there's any change that's going to take place. We're just trying to get as educated as possible on the subject, and Dr. Levine indicated that the woman who will be here at the end of January, weather and health permitting, is a preeminent source for this subject, and we should educate ourselves if we're going to make any kind of decision one way, whether it's to leave things the way they are or modify things or whatever it is. It's just part of our due diligence as a committee. So I agree that there's, and let's make it abundantly clear to the public that there's no change imminent.
All in favor? So vote. We do have one written communication today. It's a letter from Unit C regarding negotiations on a new contract. I'll turn over to your committee, Mrs. Carpenter.
We will be in touch. Thank you.
Okay. Motion to receive and send to Mrs. Carpenter's committee, a finance committee made by Mr. Olympio, seconded by Mr. Amico. Subcommittee reports, education subcommittee, Mr. Hockman?
Yeah, I just want to report, we did not meet yesterday. We are rescheduling that meeting for sometime in January. It will get posted.
Okay, thank you. Finance, Mrs. Carpenter?
We recently began negotiations with Unit A, and we have some future dates set up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
School safety,
Nothing
Mr.
new to
Olympio?
report.
Okay. Athletics and wellness, Mr. Rosignol?
Nothing at this time.
Quality and standards, Mrs. Dunn, I know we have a couple of items.
We have two. Before all of you, we have our policy which we discussed at the last meeting concerning the superintendent's exception to the chemical health policy. And right now it is numbered as 2017-138. I want to leave it there until we can figure out exactly where it belongs in the policy manual. But this incorporated all of the changes that were brought forward at the meeting, and I want to thank Dr. Levine for putting those in.
Excuse me, that should read exemption, by the way, that's my fault.
Oh, exemption, okay.
Should read exemption.
All right. Okay, and we'll change it at the title and the first line. So with that change, I'd like to present this and make a motion that the policy of the superintendent's exemption to chemical health policy be approved this evening for second reading. So moved.
Second.
Heard the motion by Mrs. Dunn, seconded by Mr. Olympio. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Rosano?
Yes.
Mr. Olympio?
Yes.
Mr. Amico?
Yes.
Mrs. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes. We also have before us for a second absence. Again, this is an addendum to policy JH. And it is being presented for a second reading, and I do have an amendment. In the second line, it says military academies. It should also say, or U.S. military training schools. That gives that specific parameter to the schools, such as basic training, BUDS, the Ranger School, any of those specific U.S. military training schools. So I would ask if that would be, if that's all right with everyone, if we can include that as well.
No objection.
Okay, all in favor? Good.
And then I'd like to make a motion that this be approved for second reading this evening. So moved.
Second.
Heard the motion for approval by Mrs. Dunn, seconded by Mr. Rosignol. Excused absence. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Rosano?
Yes.
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 Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Yes.
All set, thank you, Mrs. Dunn. City Council Advisory Board Liaison, anything to report?
Only that next week, our Parent Advisory Board meeting will take place Monday, the 18th, at Bertucci's. And we're hopeful that Mr. Stanton and Ms. Rose will be able to join us, and they'll give us some information while we eat pizza, and they can talk to us about school lunches.
Great. Thank you very much. Building and Grounds, Mr. Miko?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We had a meeting prior to this meeting here, and we were informed by the MSBA that funding was not granted to us in regards to the 4 projects that we put forward last May. So it's disappointing, but as a committee, we're committed to improving our buildings, and we'll come up with a plan in the near future to reapply for some of these projects next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miko. Special Education Parent Advisory Board, Mr. Olympio?
Yes, we met on December 5th. It was a lightly attended meeting. Mr. Amico and Ms. Dunn attended, and we discussed about maybe inviting for next month committee members of the committee for the Brown School Playground, maybe have them come speak in front of us and speak in front of some of the special ed parents and kind of spread the awareness on the playground initiative. So I'll schedule something in January for that.
Great, thank you. I am going to be working, oh, sorry, Mr. Huckman?
Yeah, no, it's okay. If I may, Mr. Olympio, I just wanted to report that the Special Education PAC is having their annual Basic Rights Workshop meeting on Tuesday, January 16th from 7 to 9 p.m. I'm sure they'll have it posted and it'll be blasted all over social media. It's the annual workshop that provides information to parents of special education students that we're obligated as a school district to provide annually.
Thank you.
And it's free of charge to anyone who chooses to attend. Great.
Two items before we go on to new business. I've asked the committee members to request committee assignments. There were a number of requests. I'm going to try to do the best I can to get everybody the committees that they want to serve on. I know some committee members are committed to certain ones. Others want to try something new. So I'm going to do the best and try to get that over to you in the next week or two, committee assignments for next year. And with that, I did want to state we have one of our committee members who this is their last meeting. And Tom Rosignol has been elected to the City Council. Congratulations, Tom. You're going to do terrific there, but you're going to be leaving a big hole here for on the school committee. 8 years on the school committee, yep. Constantly fighting for kids, passionately arguing for what's best. It's not easy. We've had to make a lot of tough decisions, but I just want to say that I have great respect for the commitment, the work, the advocacy, and you always did it in a friendly manner, in a working with everybody type of manner, but arguing passionately for what you believed in. And we're going to miss you on the school committee, but it's the city council's gain because I think you're going to do a great job as well. I just want to personally thank you for all your hard work on behalf of the students of our city. So thank you, Tom. I didn't know if anybody else wanted to make a couple comments. I know all of us have served with Tom for a number of years. Mrs. Carpenter?
Thank you. So I just want to add, Tom, it's been a pleasure serving with you for the last 8 years. You've been respectful. I've valued your opinion. You will be missed dearly. I am happy that we are continuing to infiltrate the city council. We keep sending school committee members over there.
That's true.
You know, that's one of the most important things is having them see what we see. And I know having you there and having Ed there, and we've had some others that have been on the city council there, it makes a big difference. And I know that you will make a huge difference over there, and I will still be calling you every single day, driving you crazy. And you'll be missed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, that's just not just Tom that he called every single day. That's crazy.
Tom calls me back.
The second time you got me. Mrs. Dunn?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have had the privilege of working with Tom, not just on the school committee, but Parent Advisory Board many years ago.
That's right.
And way back then, I learned that Tom has always been so kind and fair, but he's a man of his word. And we called topics and incidents that happened back when we were on Parent Advisory Board, and Tom stood up and really fought for the students very hard. And that always impressed me. So when he got elected to school committee, I was thrilled. So I am going to miss you a lot. But you know, we know where you are. We can come find you.
I'm not going far.
Budget time, don't forget us.
Thank you, Mrs. Dunn. Mr. Olympio?
Yeah, just real quick, Tom, I just want to thank you for really all your help and guidance. Being a new committee member a couple of years ago, you welcomed me with open arms, and Mr. Amico, I would say the same thing. Just really, you're going to be missed, and appreciate all your hard work, your passion, and just, best of luck at the City Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Olympio. Mr. Amico?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through the chair to Mr. Rosignol, thank you. I remember making that phone call when I was thinking about running for school committee, and as a teacher, I was thinking, I just need to talk to someone to really make sure that I really want to do this. And I spoke to one of my neighbors, and she said, you need to call Tom Rossignol. And she gave me your number. You took the call. We chatted for about 15 minutes. I hung up. I called my wife, and I said, I'm running for school committee. So, thank you, sir.
Good story. Good. Mr. Huckman?
Yeah, thank you. Tom, we've been here for 8 years together. It's been a pleasure serving with you. You've left a mark on this school department. You've left a positive mark on this school department. There are many wonderful programs that you introduced and fought for, and rightfully so. You fight for kids all the time. You have the best interest of staff and students in your heart all the time. You conduct yourself with a tremendous amount of class, and I expect that that's going to continue down the street. Don't forget us. I know you won't. And I know you'll still be advocating for students even on the city council. Good luck to you with everything.
Thank you. I'll be brief. Your kind words are heartfelt, and I really appreciate everybody's sentiment. But we all know that a committee is a committee. It's a group of people. And I know that the school committees in the past, well before any of us got on, weren't always looking out for kids' best needs. And I can honestly say, whether we agree or agree to disagree, we always put kids first. We always put the city first. So it's with a little bit of a heavy heart that I move on to the city council, but a piece of me is always going to be here, and you guys all know that. So thank you very much.
Great.
First of all, I think that your love by everybody is defined by the cake that was bought all the way.
Oh, yeah.
Tom, I want to say that as a superintendent, I couldn't ask for a better school committee or a school committee member. And one of the nicest things I can say about you is how much of a gentleman you are, regardless of the issue, regardless of the times, regardless of whether it was tense or not. You've always been a true gentleman and a great role model for our kids in the way to act in a public forum. You're also a terrific husband and father, and you represent the city of Peabody well in all walks of life. I'm proud to be your friend, and I'm proud to have worked with you.
Thank you.
Great job. Great.
Thank
Well
you.
said, everybody. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you very much. Now sit down.
Tom's buying.
We do have one more item, new business. I know we briefly discussed this earlier. We're going to keep that in committee. The shortened school days regarding breakfast, lunch, and snack, we'll keep that in committee for further discussion. And items for next agenda will be handled in the regular course. We do have one item I want to make sure we clarify, because I thought we made an earlier vote not to meet on December 26th. I thought Mr. Amico brought that up.
We did.
It's still listed as the next committee meeting.
Yeah.
But I just want to clarify and make sure that we as a committee are not going to be meeting that day.
My memory was that either the school department paid for us to all fly to Vatican City and meet there, or not meet.
Yep.
And Jared Stanton said, we're not going to Vatican City.
So no meeting on December 26th. We'll be setting the agenda for our first January meeting.
Mr. Mayor, and we
January
also
9th.
listed as the first on here, if you wanted to correct that.
Yeah, which is actually January 8th, the inauguration.
The January 8th is the inauguration. First school committee meeting will be January 9th. Okay? Thank you, everyone.
Motion to adjourn.